Binge Thinker for another episode. My name is Jameel Raymond. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today. Today's episode is with Amna Bee. Amna is a fellow comedian and also from the same Pakistani heritage as myself. We have a little bit in common, being a little bit of an exile from Pakistani culture. Comedians having a pretty broad perspective on life. So I thought it'd be great to chat with her about what's going on socio-politically in Pakistan. It's pretty rough there at the moment with things like massive flooding, a recent coup, and it's just always been a pretty unstable place, particularly post 9/11 and what's happened with the war on terror. So a bit of a chat, have a good conversation about our different perspectives on current events that are happening in Pakistan, namely Imran Khan, which is quite polarizing between the two of us, but it was a good conversation, a good perspective to have overall. So please sit back and enjoy my conversation with Amna Bee. Thank you, Midges. See you soon. Everyone's ignorant. Everyone's ignorant of something, don't know it.
I guess I've met other people who are also ignorant in the same ways that I am.
Yeah.
I love that. That's called true friendship. It's like,
yeah, the same kind of fucking stupid. That's what you want.
Yeah, that's the, foundation of a good relationship. So, yeah.
I mean, so many good relationships can start with mutual hate.
Well, they better.
Yeah, you go, fuck that
to
guy.
have any longevity.
Yeah, you go, fuck
when
that.
we hate each other, we can always come together on hating someone else that we hate together.
Yeah, that's what's going to save us all. I mean, from a racial perspective, like racism will be what it's like.
Racism is just another way to like find a difference between you and someone else, and it's like something your eyes can see. So you're like, oh, cool, I'll go with that.
Something different.
Yeah.
Once the aliens come, we're going to unite.
The aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really? Will they?
I think so. I think so. Once there is a common
Why haven't
enemy,
the aliens come already?
Oh, they probably have. I mean, the US government's talking about it. That they've got, evidence to show, well, there's these spaceships. But, what I've talked about this with Sam in the past is like, everyone talks about racism between like interracial, like black, white, Jew, German, whatever it is. But inter-race is way worse than cross-racial
But
tension.
that's not race. Intra-race is not race. That's like a cultural thing.
It's still
because you're the same race. It's not racism if it's the same race. Racism is specifically when it's two different races.
It's still discrimination.
Yeah, it's different. Where racism is racism. By racism these days we mean really the dominant holding power that white people have over many systems in the world.
Yeah, it's not racism.
And it's changing, hopefully.
Racism is white versus non-white. Right, that's the main.
Let's get that clear. Yes, yeah, that is.
Racism is white versus non-white.
Yeah, and let's not say reverse racism is also a real thing. Oh God,
I love it. I love making white people uncomfortable. But so racism is clearly white versus non-white.
And other human on human atrocities and brutality that exists on so many levels.
Yes,
of course.
Yeah,
of course.
And it's worse, but we are hypocrites for not acknowledging that. That's a big blind spot in the racial conversation. It
shouldn't be part of racial conversation. It's a different conversation.
But it's
and there's enough conversation about that too. There's enough talks about like the shit that happens in Pakistan, that shit that happens within Indians. Yeah, of course, that's there as well.
Yeah, but that's the same shit. It's just on a different scale, right? Like that's to me, that's hypocritical. Is to go, oh, that's racist, but white man says something to a black guy, right? Because this is what it is. Like white versus black, that's racism. It's other race versus other race is not as bad, but there's way worse has happened across, right? It's like if I say something to an Asian, like if I'm talking from like the Paki side, the brown side, and I say something to an Asian racially, there's no real issue there unless it's deliberately.
I think it's pretty bad as well.
Like if not racist, but like if I get into racial conversations with another race that's not white, there is an element of we're all still on the same team, so there's you know what I mean? So there's you lose that predication of what's this guy's agenda? Like is he trying to be racist? It's like no, we're going east-west as opposed to East West in a way, but not culturally. You know what I mean? Like it's on the same team. As opposed to when if a white person asks me about my race, and it's a bit different, there's a bit of tension to it, right? It's like
it's just because they are the dominant group, really.
Socially and culturally, yes.
Yeah, like globally.
yeah.
That's the issue. That's the issue. It all comes down to that. Who's holding the dollar?
Yeah.
When the day like it changes, it shifts to some other race, we'll be like, okay, we'll see what their behaviors and practices are like.
It's China.
Well, you said it, but I don't want to say it.
I'm saying it. It's China. It's happened.
And people are, apprehensive about that because, they don't have the best human rights record. So
neither does the fucking US.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying there's something to be worried about on both ends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what the US was interventionist. Right?
That's what they try to be, yeah. Or pretend, sure.
Yeah, that's the thinly veiled interventionism.
Set governments up and then intervene. Set governments up and then intervene. Yeah.
But you understand that there's an inherent greed in what they do.
Yeah, it's very much so.
So, but I don't think people recognize China's greed or what's the intent of China. Greed. There is to an extent, but they are more intent in spreading their culture.
What? It is the first time I'm hearing it. Tell me more.
Because, they talk about the greatness of the Chinese empire. You can't say anything that's anti-Chinese now in the universities and the more left-leaning areas, right? The US wants resource and economic superiority.
So does China.
Yes, but they also want to expand their cultural identity.
I'll be honest with you, it's the first time someone's brought that up because usually the discussions I've had with other people, who, like I said, we're all equally ignorant.
Yeah.
It's always been that it's America and their values and their freedom-loving values and how they're like, and they hate our freedoms. Like that's their slogan. Going into any nation, right? Like they're going to bomb the shit out of. With China, it's more like I personally feel that China has more of a greed agenda, and they're like, yeah, just don't talk shit about us, but we're not going to impose our culture on you.
No, they're infiltrating it slowly.
Wow, if that's true, that's really scary as well.
Yeah, I mean, and the why I say this is, sure, America talks about defending their freedoms, right? And we need to give them democracy, but they've actually failed at doing that deliberately.
Yeah, no kidding, because they never cared about their democracy or their freedoms to begin with.
Correct.
Yeah, it was all bullshit.
But China cares about the glory of its nation because it is more monoculturalistic. The US is bound by wealth and opportunity and capitalism, right? Which is a singular capital venturist, individualistic approach to personal freedom, right? It's the freedom of the individual. But communism and the Chinese way is about the collective spirit of the nation.
So do you think they're going to trying to turn like the world into one nation that is like all about the Chinese empire?
I think there will certainly be some hardcore influence for sure. Jesus. I mean, look at what they're doing with Hong Kong. Right?
Yeah, but that's Hong Kong and that's Taiwan. I'm just saying, can they actually go into India and be like, oh, we're going to be like Chinese culture now?
Not without force.
Yeah.
Right? Not without force, but...
What would they even gain from like turning like Indian-looking people into like Chinese?
Me!
Well, you're going to be like their top spokesman or something.
Yeah.
The rest of us.
Yeah. But I think it's only when it's more directly, when they're more aggressive about what their influence is. Because the thing, like, for example, in Pakistan, there's a lot of Chinese people now, particularly in the north.
Yeah.
Right? They're building all the infrastructure. They're settling down. Right? They're creating their own influence.
And yet I couldn't find a single slab of tofu when I was in Peshawar. I was like...
Why would you care?
What? I'm vegan.
Oh, yeah.
I was in Peshawar and I was like, surely there's tofu. I'm like, there's so many Chinese people, and I'm like, are they just eating our food and not bringing their food into our country?
Yeah.
I think they were like, thank God, no more tofu. We can eat meat.
Yeah. Or like they can't eat pork here. No chance of getting pork in fucking Peshawar. Yeah.
Work,
But so there's plenty of Chinese people there.
Yeah.
Right? There's, India and China have always had their tensions about the border. Mm-hmm. They're everywhere in Africa. They have the majority of the major infrastructure
they built
projects.
the airport in Port Moresby.
Yeah. Right. So
there.
So the primary form of attack for China is economic influence.
Yeah, for sure.
They've got the globe by the balls financially because they own America.
Yeah.
But now they are starting to influence the culture, the global culture, which is the US's best export. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. The US's number one export is their culture, is the perception of freedom. And then, again, that hasn't been brought about by the public aspect of the US. That's brought like by the private sector, through Hollywood, through movies, through...
exactly, the pop culture.
Through the corporation.
Yeah.
But now you can see the tide turning in that, because now China and Asia is the best addressable new market for all these American corporations. Mm-hmm. If you think about all the diversity.
So you're saying Chinese culture is going to start influencing North America?
Already has.
In what way? How?
So, do you know John Cena?
No.
Okay. So this is my turning point for American culture. So think about all the Marvel movies that have come out. Think about Crazy Rich Asians. Think about Shang-Chi. Mm-hmm. Good movies. Great movies. Who are they for? Okay?
Yeah, but that's also like saying like Slumdog Millionaire and things like that, right?
No, but Slumdog Millionaire is a heartfelt heart tugger that any race can enjoy. They weren't...
What about Mindy Kaling? Do you think she's trying to like bombard the US with like Indian culture?
No, but she started as a token, and she didn't even lean into her Indian culture. She was sassy, weird black girl on The Office first, and then she leaned into the Indian stuff, right? Okay.
She doesn't lean into that much, to be honest.
Not that much.
Yeah, not that
She just is there.
Yeah.
And people go, huh,
she's
that's
just
different.
herself, yeah.
Yeah, right? So with John Cena is a WWE wrestler.
Okay.
Very popular, huge in that wrestling scene. Started crossing over into Hollywood. Did a few movies, a couple of comedies. I don't know. Not good ones.
Okay.
Right, but some comedies, a couple of, maybe not some really drums, some action movies, right? So he crossed over, like The Rock did, but on a much smaller, shittier scale.
Okay.
Okay. So he had a movie that was coming out, and it was going into the Chinese market, and he made a comment about, oh, I love Taiwan, or I love the Taiwanese people. Yeah. And that pissed off a lot of Chinese people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if you are a human rights activist, you would go, well, hey, sorry, this is how I feel. I like the Taiwanese people. I recognize Taiwan as a separate state. John Cena had to apologize to him. He made an apology about mentioning Taiwan as a separate state.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore.
Right? Yeah. So when the macho all-American wrestling hero has to apologize to satiate the needs of the East and that market, so his movies are critical and commercial success, or most, not say critical, but commercial success in that market, you're essentially saying that the big, bold American that stood for freedom and liberty and justice is going to bend to the political will of, what's perceived to be a cultural enemy of the US. So, and that's where China has America by the balls. Because the private sector, which governs all of the neoliberal states and all the really true Western states in the Western Bloc, is subject to the will of the private market.
Yeah. No, look, you're right. don't think it's ever going to be like, I think American culture was like gobbled up by people from all over the world, like by choice. People liked it.
Yeah, because it had
and Chinese culture, people are going to, it's going to be kind of like, it's not going to be as palatable, not as appetizing.
What? American culture?
Chinese culture. Because it's like it's got the dictatorship vibe, right?
Yeah, so Chinese.
And so then you don't want to be forced into liking something that's not your own.
So it won't necessarily be Chinese culture.
Yeah,
It'll just be broader Asian culture. Look at K-pop, right? Look at things like
but that's also they're on the rise because they are like those markets are just on the rise. Yeah,
they're on the rise, but like white people are getting into K-pop. They can't even fucking understand what they're saying.
Look, I was into J-pop when I was a young person, but that was just because I was weird. But
yeah, and there's a
it's cool.
There's a big weeb market, which like weirdos like you who are into Japanese stuff as non-Japanese people.
Yeah. When I was younger,
and that's huge, right?
It's always been huge, though. Japanese culture has been so loved.
Yeah, but that's become a niche, and that's coming to the mainstream. Like a lot of gaming culture, a lot of the non-physical aspects of like the next wave of culture.
I guess we will then like more of the Asian culture.
Yeah, we're being Asianified.
That's okay.
Look, I am welcoming it to a degree. I will always.
I just thought it was more like they're going to force us to like,
No, you can't force.
Pledge our allegiance to like the Chinese government. But that's not what you meant.
No.
Okay,
no. You can't be direct about this stuff. It's infiltration through osmosis over time of the culture, of the economics, of the infrastructure. And that's what's happening now. This was known as the Asian century economically at the turn of the century.
Yeah. Look, I worked in tourism and it's like the biggest market is China. Like it used to be the US.
Yeah.
It still is like proportion wise, but like most of the campaigns and money and focuses on the Chinese and Indian as well.
Yeah.
So they have Chinese signage all over Australia now.
Yeah. I mean, foot's great. You think I can speak? You think I can read half the signs in the street? No.
And I work in market research, so we do focus groups and interviews and surveys with like our Chinese tourists, and we're like, hey, so like, what do you think of your tour? And like, what would you like improved? They're like, oh, there wasn't hot Chinese food.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you mean like a random outback town? There was like, pit stop. Like, I'm sorry, we couldn't cater to your specific need. But the same thing with Indians, like, oh, they didn't like the cold sandwiches and shit.
Yeah, they don't like white people food. But
I'm like, look, I know it's not the best, but like, appreciate where you are. You're in the middle of nowhere, and they're just so demanding, and they like just very entitled. People, I think people with money anywhere, like they become very entitled. Like, you cater to me, and I was like, you know what, this sucks.
and
you can't say anything because they're your big. Like that's where the money's coming from.
Exactly.
Like fine, we're gonna have to like give people like hot curry and noodles like in like random outback town. Not even a town, like some pit stop. Like, just appreciate where you are. No. We want our food. Yeah. And they have very and it's true, like their digestive system does get upset, Indians and the Chinese tourists, if they don't have
100%
their food. And so I understand their upsetness, but I'm like, well, when you go somewhere else, don't you want to like integrate into where you are rather than demanding things be catered to you?
Every time you go on a tour in Australia, though, like when I go to a tour, they're bringing white people food. They're mixing some Asian stuff in, right? Again, this is just, it's the yin and the yang. We were doing that for centuries.
So to be fair, when I went anywhere with my parents, like they always found the Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're somewhere else. Can we just eat local food, please?
Yeah, can you enjoy some fucking culture?
No,
we cannot.
No. Well, first of all, that's an Indian thing, not a Pakistani thing, but yes.
Paki's the same.
They don't do the head bob.
Oh no, they don't do the head bob. Some of them,
it's very like curiously Indian. I find it interesting. It's so they're not Pakistani as much. But yeah, they refuse to eat like local food.
Yeah.
Which I was like just so devastated. I was like, we should integrate. We should like eat the local food and we should try and dress like them. No, we're only here to enjoy the museums and trips, and then we're going to be exactly the same people and take away nothing and just buy souvenirs and do some shopping and go home. And I was like,
yeah,
I'll bring my own dal.
Well, they didn't do that, but they found enough restaurants to keep going there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, it's very human, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I wish we could just embrace other cultures a bit easier as tourists.
Yeah, but there's only so much people can take, There's so much culture shock. I mean,
that is also true. Like you're in a different environment, you're breathing a different type of air, you're in a different time zone, and then to force you to now eat sandwiches, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I can barely understand what the fuck is going on here. All I've heard about this country is there's snakes and spiders and things that are going to fucking kill me.
But it's your choice to go on that tour. Shouldn't you be more adventurous and open yourself up to more adventure?
Here's the thing, and this is what I keep saying, is that there's this hypocrisy about the expectations of white people versus other races. Other races are more conservative. Most white countries are more liberal, are more understanding.
Yeah, that's why everybody wants to go to those countries, because it's a freer life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So
why do you think I'm here?
So why wouldn't you expect the fobs to not want to be stuck in their own ways? And why do we not give them shit for being so
stuck in their ways?
Yeah.
I think people give them a lot of shit. What are you talking about?
Because they're too afraid. No, I don't think so at all.
What? Of course, they're they live in their ghettos and they don't integrate. Are you kidding me? There's a lot of hate towards.
But they don't integrate, but they are less expected to integrate.
Oh, I don't know.
No, not integrate, but they are expected to embrace the culture less than white people when they go on holidays and when they go out and do things. I think there's
do you think American tourists embrace any fucking thing anywhere?
No.
Have you met them?
No.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah, you're okay to call out the American tourists for being...
I call out anyone. I'm like, what are you doing? That's me, though.
Yeah, but that's because you've got the lens, right?
So.
We have the lens, so we can call that out. But for the general...
We do. You know what? Because I'm like, they have just maybe more education, or they look like they might have more education.
Well, they seem... That's the thing. They seem to have more opportunities too. Yeah. So therefore we expect more from them.
We do, yeah.
But the bar is lower for non-white people because of our own...
I think the term is called racism of lower expectations.
Isn't that our own discrimination, though? Isn't that something that we need to decolonize ourselves from?
I crucify everyone, so that's...
Don't escape this shit. Now we're talking about diversity.
No, I see. If my family, and I've thought about, I'm like, when my family comes and visits me in Australia, I'll be like, you're gonna have to eat local food, at least a few times, and you can't just be asking for Pakistani food all the time.
Yeah,
because you're in a different culture. You have to try some of it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Where are your good Paki spots in town?
Where I go, you know what? I don't even know if it's Pakistani, but it's unfortunately, because I do live close to the city.
Yeah.
So I don't have the access to places like in Dandenong or Point Cook or Werribee.
Yeah.
So, but one place that I really enjoyed recently it's called Musti.
Musti?
Yeah, in Fitzroy.
Okay.
I used to like Mukka, and there's another one, but Musti was very good.
I never heard of that one.
It's not fusion food. They're it's authentic. As soon as I sat down, I was like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Wasn't questioning your authenticity, but it's not fusion food. It's actually very authentic.
Yeah. So
really delicious.
Okay. You've been to Zyka in Carlton? That's a big one. It's Indian and Paki.
It's very Pakistani, but the thing is, they're very meat heavy because it's Pakistani. So when I go in there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to slaughterhouse. So I just walk right out.
Yeah.
The other one, I'm forgetting the name.
There's a good one in Clayton, but that's far away.
There's another one like Zyka in Carlton. I'm forgetting.
Oh yeah, but I know what you mean, but how heavy the meat is, right?
And then I'm like, I can only ever eat one thing in Pakistani restaurants, which is the chana masala, the chickpea curry.
What about
some vegetable stuff?
The cheese one,
the paneer.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't eat paneer, palak paneer.
You don't, because you're full vegan.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're just not very vegetable focused. I had a terrible.
No, they're not vegetable focused.
They're not.
Their idea. An Indian and a Paki's idea of a fucking salad is diced red onion, sliced red onion. That is it.
And vinegar on top.
That's it.
And soaked in vinegar, not vinegar, soaked in vinegar.
Soaked in vinegar. So it's just, there's no, yeah,
And
it's
maybe
just
some
brown.
cucumbers and like half a tomato if you're lucky.
Not for most places. It's just onion. And you're just like, hey, why do people think white Indians stink and Pakis smell? Maybe it's because they eat fucking just brown spices, meat, and onion.
And I guess the smell of the cooking is very strong, so it seeps into your clothes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's very, I mean, they are very strong, like, smelling spices. It smells delicious, don't get me wrong.
Good food, though, man. Good food.
It is pretty good food.
It's like my favorite, so.
Oh, yeah,
My favorite food.
It's pretty hard to beat sometimes. Definitely between my two backgrounds, Pakistani food shits all over Filipino food.
It's just like so much richer in its taste.
Yeah,
It's just the depth is incredible that you get from Pakistani and Indian food.
Particularly like
I like Indian restaurants a bit more just because they have more vegetarian options.
Yeah, you would.
Like, oh God, thank God you have something.
Just
especially
load me
South
up.
Indian. My God, the dosas and.
See, I never really
I think
got
that's
into
one
that.
thing I think Pakistanis have lost out on because of the partition. Just the lack of South Indian food in Pakistan. They don't even know what it is.
No.
So and I'm like, well, you're missing out, man. It's good shit.
I've never had a dosa. I really should get onto that.
Why?
Because I was raised here.
Yeah, but if you've been raised here, then you should definitely have had a dosa.
No. We don't go to Indian restaurants. Right?
Okay.
It's like, why would I do that? I've got fucking Indians at home. Because I got Indians in my family.
Yeah,
like,
I guess the north side of India or Pakistan and not really, the South Indian.
No, yeah.
So you're saying you haven't experimented much with your cuisine tastes, even though you grew up in Australia where you had access to all kinds of food?
No, I've definitely had a diverse range of foods. It's just particularly for Indian food. Why would I get Indian food when I get Paki food from the source?
The South Indian food is so different.
Yeah, but like...
It's like not even Indian. It's like entirely different cuisine.
Oh yeah, it's a different continent, a different culture. I get that.
Yeah.
It's just never... It's just like I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've gone out for specifically Indian food.
Like South Indian food, you mean?
No, Indian food.
Yeah.
Because it just ends up being Paki food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I've had like 3 butter chickens in my life.
See, the thing is India, and so when someone says I went to Indian restaurant, to me that's come on the same as going to a Pakistani restaurant, but maybe with less meat.
Yeah.
But it's not that different. North Indian food is not that different outside of India and Pakistan when it's here.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, it's not that
terribly
different. So I'm like, oh, it's close enough. I can get that in my cousin's house.
Yeah. Okay.
And like my auntie's making it, and she's a fucking killer cook.
Yeah.
Why would I go out and there's always this rep. You always have this rep where Indian restaurants are dodgy, right?
The good ones are amazing.
I'm sure the good ones are, but
Go have a dosa, man. That's the next thing you need to do. Please, it's amazing. It's such good food.
I'm not against it. I will go for a dosa.
It's actually really and it's lighter than North Indian food.
Yeah.
Pakistani food.
Because it comes a little crispy ball, doesn't it? You just feel the
No, it's
ball
like
full
a
of stuff.
It's like a big pancake set. It's like a rice made with rice flour. It's so good.
So sort of like what they do with
Then it's crispy.
Oh, okay.
And it's like I get the masala dosa, which is like spiced potatoes.
Right.
They have all kinds with different chutneys, like coconut and stuff.
I've seen them. They look cool.
Yeah.
I just like, again, every time I have a craving for, I don't crave that food.
I've actually craved something. I'm like, man, it's gotta get a dosa.
Yeah.
Once you get into it, like it's a craving of a different kind.
Yeah, that's always like me sometimes. Like when Sam introduced me to, Sam didn't introduce me actually. When I started getting into Ethiopian food,
Yeah, I know.
in
Then
injera.
sometimes you just crave that.
Yeah.
You're like, I just gotta have this. Sometimes you just gotta have a banh mi. It's just like, it's amazing. I love food.
Yeah.
You
So
can
I'm not saying I'm against it. I just, again, the way, like, I'm so close.
What's the food you crave most frequently?
That's a good question.
Or recently that you've been craving more frequently? Because, it's in cycles.
Yeah, so lately I've been getting like Malaysian a fair bit because there's Rocky Road around the corner and getting like a nice rendang, or they'd like a nice sambal, or they mix it up, or
Malaysian food's top.
Yeah, it's great,
Very
and
good.
I've got a pretty good place around the corner. So that's probably my current phase, because
I just crave dumplings more
I
than.
went through a dumpling phase.
I know I'm going through that. I'm like, I just want to have dumplings. It's.
Are you a steamed or a fried?
I try to have steam, but man, fried.
Nah, I'm steamed.
I love fried.
Nah,
Have you been to Shandong Mama in the city?
nah.
Very good. Like
Yep.
very expensive, but like really good.
Exy. Yeah.
They have like you're not gonna have it if you're not vegetarian, but like zucchini dumplings. It's actually
Give it a shot.
very tasty.
I'm not against eating vegetarian.
I shouldn't really be recommending somebody who's more Asian than I am where to get dumplings. So.
but I'm not culturally Asian. That's the thing. I'm white as hell.
No, but you're so Asian, man. You've got like two like strong Asian.
Yeah, in the genetics,
Yeah.
but in the brain, I've got a white lens.
I know.
I don't even like.
You're coconut, right? Is that what you guys are?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a coconut.
Not bit, like you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I go either banana or coconut,
I
depending on.
find coconuts to be like such a, it's like a mirage for me. It's like you
Why?
think you're connecting with them and you do,
Yeah.
but then you're like, man, you are very different from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't fit.
I was married
anywhere.
to like a coconut, right? And
Oh really?
and I was like, oh, he's missing his culture, and I must like give him the culture. And I had to concede. I'm like, he's actually not missing any of his culture. He's like a creature of his own.
Right.
Coconuts. I'm like, they're not missing culture.
No.
They're just like fully fledged, respectable individuals of their own right.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, you're missing the culture. He's like, I'm telling you, if you give me that Indian mithai one more time. I was like, how can you not like it? I'm like, I don't get it. He's like, no, I don't. It's too sweet and disgusting, right? And I was like, it sounds like an insult to me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
coconuts, man. It's like I've learned, like it's like they look like you, and they get some of the references because they watched some Amitabh movies growing up and shit.
Yeah.
But man, that's about as similar as you'll get, and then it's just different.
I don't even.
And beyond that, you got to connect on something beyond culture. You got to connect like in other ways that you need to connect with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're very different people.
There is no way if you want to connect to me culturally.
It's not gonna happen.
from the Paki side, absolutely
That's
not.
what I mean. It's like that's why I'm like I need to meet your dad because he sounds like he's an original article, right? Like
He's OG.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'd probably have more in common with him.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like he
Yeah.
can speak Pashto.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I don't speak a fucking word.
I'm sure you don't.
And
It's not a language you're just gonna pick up like randomly. You actually have to speak it a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like my parents only spoke English in the house because that's the only way they could communicate.
With each other.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's
I'm fucking great at English. But
well, that's good.
yeah,
It's good to be good at one language.
yeah, I'm great at it. I mean, I do wish I learnt more of it because the problem is for me is that.
How would you learn more English?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
But no, more of my parents' languages.
Okay, I was like, more.
I just read a dictionary. I used to when I was younger.
Yeah,
I
we
was
all
dumb.
did. Didn't we all read a dictionary?
Maybe at some point, but I was, still am quite verbose.
Look for naughty words and giggle at the end.
I just make my own up, and I trust. I heard them all anyway growing up, so it was fine. I definitely know all the swear words in my mum's language because,
That's important.
yeah,
That's,
I definitely know when I'm being spoken about in both my parents' languages.
that's important.
Yeah, the tone gets a little bit lower and a little bit more frustrated, and you're like, fuck off. But yeah.
You speak English better than both your parents?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, look, they're not.
You can bitch about them in English.
Yeah, but they'll understand.
I know, that's... Yeah, I guess you don't have advantages.
No, I just keep it in here. They can't read my thoughts. Like, no, they're both very fluent in English.
Yeah.
They're not fobs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no one can tell that my dad's
My
from
parents
Pakistan.
learned English when they were studying, and they don't really speak it. It's kind of like lost knowledge, but I'm sure if I were to force them to start talking English, I think it would slowly...
Yeah, it would
come to
filter
them.
through.
Yeah, like, okay, I can form a sentence here and there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but they're also more
And
exposed
my dad
to it.
much more than my mom because he's actually worked more, so
Yeah,
he had to. The documents are in English in Pakistan, so
yeah.
yeah, they're not in Urdu. That'd be very difficult.
That's so
People's
weird.
Urdu in Pakistan is quite atrocious.
Really?
It's getting worse. I'm like, yeah,
What's it being replaced with?
English.
Oh, okay.
Just speaking more of English in Urdu. I'm like, man, that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it'll ever get to a point where it's like a dead language.
No, not Urdu.
No.
Not Urdu. No. But it's just getting diluted,
Yep.
like a lot of languages. Yeah. So they're like, oh, your Urdu is so good. I'm like, man, I worked hard to get a a translator and interpretation certification, and here you guys are just not respecting the language as you should.
Yeah, but that's what they see in the culture.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
That's what I mean. Like America's greatest export is culture.
My nieces and nephews, they're talking English because of YouTube. I'm like, okay. That's just kids all over the world now.
Yeah. They just have to get used to it. But I mean, a lot of YouTubers now are starting to cross-pollinate. I don't think they'll ever get to Urdu, but, people like Mr. Beast, for example, who's the world's biggest YouTuber, he's got a Spanish channel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
it's a very big market as well. So.
Yeah, because, I mean, the English-speaking market's, 2 billion, 3 billion maybe at most? There's an extra billion of Mandarin.
Yeah.
There's 800 million in Spanish.
Yeah.
These are just
big. Yeah.
huge markets.
If only all of India spoke one language, but they don't.
But, I mean, they could pretty much unite mostly under Hindi.
English.
Really?
Yeah, not Hindi.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know I have friends from other parts of India, north, and they're like, we don't know Hindi. They know maybe a couple of words here and there.
So
I had a friend from Bombay who spoke absolutely no Hindi, and she was from Bombay. Mumbai, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Mumbai.
So wait, what is she like?
English.
No dialect?
Just English.
Wow.
I know. That's when I was like, it really is a different country from Pakistan.
Yeah.
It was odd. She was odd. But then she grew up in Kuwait.
Right.
But then she lived in India too. I'm like, you must know. She's like, I speak no Hindi. I'm like, that is so strange.
I think that would make sense. If you grow up in an international school, you're probably going to... She got one of those weird sort of pseudo-English accents.
She's got like how Indians speak English, right? No. She's got she spoke like an Indian person would speak English. Like
right.
an Indian accent, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think English is the common language in India.
Yeah.
Maybe Hindi to some extent, but I know plenty of Indians who don't speak Hindi.
That's weird to me.
But maybe it's a class thing as well. I'm sure the if you went to
the commoners.
Poor area somewhere in I don't know if they would know Hindi, to be honest. I think it's a very, very varied country. I would like to go there one day.
I haven't been.
When I've renounced my Pakistani citizenship. It's the only way I'm getting in.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I'm not...
And then I can never go to Pakistan again. So I don't know. I think I'll stick with the Pakistani citizenship.
For now.
No, I'm keeping it. It's a special one.
Yeah.
The country was created after so much pain. I can't just give it up.
Yeah, I get that. I think my dad renounced his... Not renounced it, but he just sort of let it sit in the back.
Yeah, but if he didn't actively renounce it, he's still a Pakistani citizen in some way.
Yeah, it'd be...
Because Australia allows dual, so...
Yeah. Not that he does anything in Pakistan, really. We've got some property there, but not much, and I think he's trying to sell it. Because, shit's getting dire over there.
It's really bad. I was actually really distressed this time when I went back,
Yeah.
It's always a bit worse than before. This time I was like, oh my God.
What? That's the thing. That's what
so much worse. COVID and just economically, it's just tanked so much more.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about is
again, an ignorant person's view who just went to see her family in Peshawar, but sure, ask me.
You've got a better perspective than me.
I don't think so.
I am way outsider. I'm not even...
It's not about being outside or inside. I think it's about how much you keep up with the news, to be quite honest.
I get all of my news through my dad.
Okay, well then maybe I have more of a perspective than you. Dads are the worst source of news. They have the most biased lens.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, and my dad and my brother would fight about my dad's like, if you bring up Imran Khan one more time.
So
our family was divided as pro Imran and then really anti Imran, and I'm like, I guess I know where I belong.
Well, so I'll be curious to talk to you about this because, to me, I am pro Imran.
Oh, I know you are.
Why is that?
You read my article, and you're like, interesting point of view. You didn't see it.
Yeah. Because to me, okay, for the people at home,
you're not the only one. Most of my friends were pro Imran. None of them commented.
Yeah. So for the people at home who don't understand,
at least they didn't unfriend me. I was really surprised.
Really?
Some of them are like, if you're anti-Imran, I'm going to unfriend you.
That's stupid.
But they didn't. I'm like, okay, you've cooled down a bit.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. That his fans can be really fanatical.
Yeah, but anyone that can.
I've never seen somebody pro Nawaz Sharif being like, I'm going to unfriend you if you don't like Nawaz Sharif.
But who the fuck is really pro Nawaz Sharif?
The Punjabis in Pakistan.
Yeah,
I
know.
Pro
but
Sharif.
Are they educated people?
They're about as educated as Imran Khan supporters. They're all about the same.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure like people who support Imran are just, of a different, they're like more refined people or anything. A lot of celebrities support him. Yeah, he's got that.
Yeah. So hang on, let's take a backward
And
step
there's a
here.
lot of celebrities who also don't support him. So
Yeah. For the people at home who don't understand what the fuck we're talking about.
Imran Khan.
Imran Khan.
Tiger.
Yes, the tiger. What were they used to call him? The Tiger of the West or something like that? Tiger of the East?
He's like a tiger. Yeah, the tiger.
Yeah.
He won Pakistan, its one and only Cricket World Cup in 1992.
Yes.
He was a very good cricket team captain.
Yeah.
But his winning speech was all, I did this and I did that. Nothing about like the team effort.
Yeah.
And you could see the people getting, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, like he's just all about himself.
To a degree, for sure. But
He built a cancer hospital. So
yeah.
after he married a very rich Jewish girl. So, okay. Who turned out to be a really super nice person. We kind of missed Jemima. She was not. Yeah, she was actually a really great person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She still is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
She's looking after Imran's illegitimate daughter, who
Right.
he refuses to acknowledge because
This is so interesting seeing this side.
it's not interesting. It's just it's him. See, we grew up with this, right?
Yeah.
And now my friend, I'm like, you're not. I'm like, you're ignoring. Like, I think it's good I left Pakistan when I did because my mind's in my time warp.
Yeah.
So it's like those things are still fresh to me. What happened then?
Right. The stuff happened in the 90s.
And they're like, "What do you mean? That's such old stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, but it was like a premonition to what Imran was going to turn out to be like." But I think people are so sick and tired of the situation in Pakistan, how it's just been progressively getting worse.
Yeah.
Then Imran has been like, this like a last-ditch effort almost. It's like we need to.
All right. Yeah, yeah. So again, we need to provide context to your opinion here.
Okay. I just don't like him.
That's interesting. Okay. So yeah, for the people at home, Imran Khan was the now exiled Prime Minister of Pakistan.
He was the only leader in Pakistan who was ousted on a no confidence vote.
Yes, which has some pretty cynical backgrounds and seems pretty dodgy.
So okay,
in the greater scheme of
another
things.
piece of context we should probably give is that it doesn't matter who's in power in Pakistan. The people that are truly running it is the establishment, or which is majority of the. It's like establishment is like a group of like people that run Pakistan, and it's really military.
Yes.
And they've been running it since 1960s.
Yes.
Ayub Khan set it up, who was like the first military dictator.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to do this. I'm gonna set it up. And it's like, it's been a pseudo-democracy.
Yeah.
So Imran Khan only came into power when he did as a prime minister because the establishment backed him.
Yep.
And then when the establishment didn't want him, he got out.
Yes.
They do that with everyone.
You cannot survive in Pakistan as a leader without the backing of the army.
You cannot survive as a human being in Pakistan
That is
if the
true.
army doesn't want you to.
Yes.
There's military barricades all over Peshawar, the town, my hometown.
Yep.
Going from one freaking area to the other, you have to show your ID card and your purpose to go to the markets. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is like we're civilians, we're citizens. They're like, why are you going there? I'm like, well, I'm going to the bakery. Like, you got a problem with that?
Yeah.
You can't go to certain areas unless you have like the resident card. This is how much military has taken over Pakistan.
In certain,
I hope like they won't watch your podcast. Not to like say anything bad about your podcast, but I really hope they don't, because a very famous journalist in Pakistan got murdered in Africa.
Right.
In I think in Nigeria. Yeah, and they're like the military did it. And I'm like, well, of course they did.
Yeah, I'm not really afraid of that. Like, this is just me talking
Well,
shit.
and they won't. I'm just saying, if you have any kind of power and you're speaking as the military, you're treading on thin ice.
I'm not speaking against it.
I'm just saying, not you, like in Pakistan.
yeah.
In Pakistan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
They don't care what like somebody else is saying.
no, and I'm so far removed.
Because we have like no power
Correct.
to influence.
Maybe we do. Who knows?
Well, maybe collectively one day. But.
Maybe. But
So that's the thing with Imran Khan. He was ousted. He was very upset about it. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do. So he blocked the whole country by saying, "We're going to do long marches."
yeah.
And the common person's like, "Fuck, can we get on with our lives?" And he's just refusing. He's like, "No, we're going to do a long march, and we're going to get the whole country involved, and I need to be back in power." And I'm like, man, if you really cared about the country, you would just like chill out for a bit. You don't. You care about your power. He's very power focused.
He is focused on
Very
his power.
power focused. And he's on to his third wife now, which, I don't care, right? Whatever.
Yep.
But his third wife, like, She's like a witch, psychic witch or something. Do you know about it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, she's like one of those like peers, like those witch doctors that you go to in India and Pakistan.
No.
Yeah. And she like talks to the jinns and shit.
Right.
And she feeds them like a vat of like raw meat because the jinn has to eat like it's meat.
Right.
And jinn, by the way, is like a ghost, not a ghost, but like a powerful invisible entity that's mentioned in the Quran.
It's like an
So if
angel
I don't like
slash
Imran Khan, I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's a little cuckoo.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like he's not entirely stable in his head.
Interesting.
Not that a lot of people in Pakistan are stable in their head, including myself.
No,
But
they
like,
are not.
I don't know. And he said something really awful. And as a woman, as any human being, you would be appalled at his comments. And when he was as a prime minister, he's like, if women are wearing very short clothes, like, a man's gonna react. Unless he's a robot, it's really hard to blame men for that.
Yeah.
Apologizing for like basically rape apology, and in a country where there's so much violence against women.
I did hear that
That
comment.
should not come from a head of state. Like all the other previous leaders, as shit as they may have been, even they had enough tact to know.
Yeah.
If Nawaz Sharif had enough tact to know not to say that
I think
as
so.
the head of state.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just really
there was a
weird.
correction of that in the CNN. I did an interview with CNN or BBC, and we talked about how he corrected that. But I do understand that the context of that is quite
I
poor.
just feel like he's probably the most misogynistic leader Pakistan's had.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Is it because he's actually had an opinion about women
I
in the
feel like he
modern
doesn't-
world? Because
I feel like he doesn't really regard them very highly at all.
but like people like Nawaz Sharif, or who was the other guy that was in charge for a long, I forgot his name.
Mushar?
Yeah. I mean,
He was a military dude.
yeah, he was a military guy. He wouldn't have even acknowledged any feminine struggle, I would think, politically.
I'm not saying that a greater track record. I'm just saying Imran, he's just openly just maybe a bit more misogynistic.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't think it necessarily makes him worse. He's probably just actually more outspoken about it. But I suspect
He
that,
shouldn't be saying things like that as the head of state. And I think that again brings us to how incompetent he is as a leader. Incompetent is the main issue with Imran Khan. His thing is like, Pakistan, a lot of Pakistanis, their mantra that the military has fed them for years is that it's a corrupt country, that civilian corruption,
yeah,
political corruption, even though military is the most corrupt
yeah,
organization. They have the best land. They get all the production and then they sell it for profit, right?
yeah,
You should stay at a military mess. My God, such facilities.
yeah.
Amazing, right? Anyway, so that's what they've like told people, that in Pakistan there's corruption. You cannot trust your democratic politicians because they're corrupt. They're corrupt. That's been like the mantra that's been happening.
Yeah,
Of course, there's corruption. I'm
Yeah.
not saying there's no corruption, right? So Imran's thing is like his differentiator was I'm personally not corrupt.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, cool. You have money and you're not corrupt. Like his corruption is with power. He wants power. That's his greed,
yeah,
right? Corruption is corruption when you want something more than you need to. So his is that, but everybody in his party was corrupt. Like the same people that were in the other party were in his party. With Imran Khan, like the problem was not that he's not corrupt. Like, great, okay, awesome, Imran, you're not corrupt, bravo, but you're incompetent. So
incompetent how?
what did he do for Pakistan? Do you know? Did he do anything of like?
So from the propaganda that I've heard from
Yeah,
my
sorry.
dad's side of things, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
from my
tell me.
perspective, I see.
I'm learning with you, so
Yeah.
I'm not an expert.
Yeah, I know. So, hang on, yeah. From my perspective, Imran seems to be a beacon of hope and change from this systemic corruption,
Yeah, the same corruption that we're harping on about.
yeah, that we're harping about it for the last 30, 40 years, right? Nawaz Sharif and his regime has
Sure.
pulled billions out of the Pakistani economy. And
Yeah, Imran's party, they're all corrupt. If that's your focus, like they're corrupt. Imran is not.
yeah,
His whole party is.
well, to an extent, right? But it's the lesser of two evils, I think. And again, a very limited viewpoint here.
Yeah, mine too. And I'm just saying, from my limited point of view, like that's not enough.
Right.
That's not enough. You need to be a bit more. I don't think he has the know-how of how to run a country. And the thing is with his, like, if you look at his Twitter and just his social media stuff, I think it's very like very populist.
But I think it's giving
Foreign
the people...
imported and I think with Imran, I think my issue with him has been that he makes alliances with anyone that he needs to. So he doesn't really, we don't know where he stands at any given point. Like with the Pakistan People's Party, right? Like that's about as left as a party can get in Pakistan. And you know that's where they stand.
Yeah.
They don't waver from like where they are.
Yeah.
Muslim League conservatives, right? And they just, Imran are like, where the fuck do you stand, mate?
Yeah.
Like he's sometimes here, sometimes he's with like the religious nut job, sometimes he's against like the West, and I think that is dangerous in a country that already has so many like the religious leaders have so much power. You don't want to add to the fire by saying it's Western conspiracy and shit. I'm like, man, you've benefited from the West all your life.
Yeah.
But he uses things to gain power. He lacks integrity, which I mean, he's a politician.
Yeah.
I'm hurt that Imran is like that. He was like the leader of our cricket team.
Yeah.
I just, if he were the beacon of hope that people thought he was, like, his lack of integrity and his hunger for power, and that he will side with whoever he needs to get power, is what's, it's dismaying. It's dangerous as well. And you don't want to incite people in a country that's already there's so much friction in Pakistan. There's already so much anti-West sentiment that's rising. It's not going down.
I think they have every right to be anti-West.
What you were talking about hypocrisy. What about like focusing on like the shit that's happening in the country? And of course, anti-West. Obviously,
yeah.
What's been happening. It's not a secret. It's pretty open. But to incite that and to make people focus on that rather than, I don't know, focusing on like things that could be done in Pakistan. I don't know. I feel like if you talk to an average Pakistani now, and if you ask them why is Pakistan the way it is, why is it in such bad state, they will say it's because of Western capitalism, and they don't really take a lot of accountability for how things are, right?
Pakis never take accountability.
So I'm just saying we don't need to encourage that mindset because that's not conducive. And Imran exploits that.
Yeah,
he incites that, and I find that scary. How is it good for Pakistan's foreign relations? You can't just be like anti-West. Who are you going to side with? Russia? Like, what the fuck are you going to do, right? Like,
yeah, well, he's siding with the East. He's siding with China. He's siding with Russia, with people that will rebuild.
They're not going to rebuild
infrastructure.
jack shit. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, they already are. So in the north is obviously part of the rail and
but it's
not
but not out of like altruistic motives. It's
no one's altruistic in politics. Why would you even have that ideal in your head? Particularly in Eastern politics.
I have a lot of ideals, yeah. But Imran, I just find him to be a bit stupid.
Really?
Yeah. But that's me though. I spoke to it a couple of years ago, not in Melbourne, somewhere else in Australia. I met with an investigative journalist who actually knew Imran on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
So he interviewed him and stuff. And I was like, what's he like? He's actually like a pretty intelligent guy.
Yeah.
I was like, and the things he does, it just boggles my mind then. But I guess he's being a politician. And not in a good way.
Well, I think what
I just don't think he's the answer Pakistani people are looking for.
Who does?
Well, then what? But his fans are so fanatic, right?
But I'm asking you, who do you think is? If he's not the best alternative in this situation, who is it?
I think it would need to be the establishment, and they just actually need to focus on betterment of Pakistan because they are the ones who can. No one else can. They hold everything. And I think I'm sure a faction of them, they do want Pakistan to get better.
Yep.
But maybe it's more complex than just like one group of people having power. I guess it is more complex, isn't it? It would have to be like a cultural change. Like it would have to, like there's deep patriarchy and misogyny in that region. Like half your population is suppressed. How are you gonna improve?
Yeah.
There's no education for girls in a lot of places still, right? And it's complex, Jameel. It's not like, one person's going to save us. I think it's like a childlike fantasy.
I don't think he's going to be the hero that solves all the problems, but he's certainly...
My problem is he's going to create more problems. That's my worry with Imran. I don't think he's actually going to make anything better.
Why not?
I told you he's incompetent. And his party is full of corrupt people. And I don't think he really knows how to run a country. That's my limited view.
Yeah.
And I am speaking a lot of it just from like my feelings about him and my intuition about him.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people that I've spoken to. Like some of the journalists that I really respect for years since I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I read their analysis about him, I'm like, yeah, I agree. It resonates. Not everybody's a fan of Imran, and even in Pakistan, like there's plenty of people.
Oh, but she's got plenty of detractors.
Plenty of, I guess, what we call intellectuals. Like not everybody likes him. So, but there's plenty who do. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems so. Like, I mean, the thing is, who knows how to run a country, and who knows how to run a country in Pakistan?
I don't know.
And I don't expect him to be a great administrator.
Why do you like Imran? So why don't you tell me why do you like Imran?
Because he inspires hope.
Okay, to do what? Hope to do what?
He inspires a lot of hope in the common person that I can see in my family and the people that are around me that are involved with Pakistan to get past the corruption, to get past...
But how do you get past corruption by just one person not being corrupt when everybody else in his party is?
Because people have faith that he will do what is necessary to minimize corruption as much as he can, or to, I guess, sort of fulfill the idea that he's trying to put out there.
A lot of Pakistan's problem is the gender inequity, right? And there's a lot of gender issues in Pakistan. You have this misogynistic person.
I don't think it's...
What issues are you solving?
I think it's I think there's a major social issue, but that's broader than...
It's a huge issue. Half the population is suppressed. No country can improve without that.
I agree, right?
You need labor force.
You do, but you also need the infrastructure of a government to be set up to enable those practices.
I'm just saying Imran's not going to be that guy.
I think there's going to be better progress under him than anyone else that takes over the reins who have known to be more corrupt.
When Imran, I was like, I hope people are right. I just had my reservations, and
Just reserved about it.
Yeah, I was like, people were so happy. They were like, oh, Imran's in power. Oh my God, finally things are going to change. I'm like, you're very naive. It's not going to change. It's like, so I was in Pakistan with the Taliban, took over Kabul, right?
Yeah.
And I think at some point you get so fed up of like the actual terror of like the reality around you. You start fantasizing. They're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe they're saying that it's not going to be the same. Like they're like the new Taliban. I'm like, man, we have learned nothing. Like they're not going to be different. Are you kidding me? They're just saying things. People say so much stuff. People say things in dating. People sell themselves all the time.
Yeah, they have to sell the best part of themselves, but they're probably just going to give you the same bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, no, that's not what's going to happen.
So are you just more broadly cynical for the future of Pakistan in general?
Yes, very much so. I'm actually quite terrified for it. Yeah, I don't think there's anything good coming there.
Wow.
Yep. I wish my family would leave. Very selfishly speaking. I think that's my biggest pain in my life. I wish they would just get out.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's bad. When I went there, I was like, yeah, my God, it's a sinking ship.
Yeah, I mean, my dad went there a few months ago in August.
I've never felt that about Pakistan, but now I do.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's more than sad. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
Now with the climate change that's happening and some countries just bearing the worst of it because, they happen to be closer to the changes that are happening, even though they haven't contributed as much to the catastrophe. Man, it's so unfair and so sad.
Well,
Isn't it just tragic? And, the rest of us are like, it's not happening here, so I'm just going to ignore it. Because if you actually sit with the climate disaster that's happening, you wouldn't get out of bed. It's so depressing.
Yeah. I mean, again.
And it's a protective mechanism, it's survival mode, right? We're like, we're not going to think about it because, I need to move on. I need to maintain my sanity.
Yeah. I mean, for the people at home who I know don't understand the scale of what's happened here, even in the last 12 to 18 months, I mean, COVID it didn't really do that bad. Back then it was bad. It wasn't as bad as maybe India. There was massive floods. They've had essentially a coup in that time.
Yeah.
Like, it is rough. It's dire down there, socially, politically, environmentally.
Yeah, and what's happening in India, the Hindu nationalists, I'm like, really, just need that.
Yeah.
Ah,
It's a prescient situation.
Scary time.
And that's the problem is that, I mean, that's what I felt there was hope with Imran trying to push through corruption and there was more foreign investment and he was building that infrastructure up. And then it got taken away and then these floods hit and it's just like, you know that the government isn't going to support.
If Pakistan tanks, it's not because Imran's not in power.
Yeah.
Let me just say that. It's not because of Imran. Him being there, not being there, it's kind of irrelevant, really. It's declining. I think the climate itself, the climate catastrophe itself will be the first thing to just
destroy it.
Yeah, and it's doing that already. Every time I go, there's fewer trees. There's
Yeah.
just like stupid development in Pakistan where there's nothing is taken into account, like the water quality, the trees, nothing.
No.
And I know I sound like this like privileged person. Like, am I gonna look at the water quality? It's so bad.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about me. I can buy bottled water that Nestle bottles.
Yeah.
My God, I'm talking about just the poor person in Pakistan. What the fuck are they drinking?
Yeah.
What are they eating? Can they eat or drink anything? And now the flood water is stagnant, right? It's just sitting still in Pakistan, and shit's gonna come from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. Before, I think, I don't know, I just had more hope. I'm like, things will change or whatever. I'm like, no, sometimes things don't change. And us humans have done a really good job of just fucking up the planet. So, collectively,
Yeah.
do it all the time.
Yeah.
I go home and I turn on my lights and, you drive a car and shit. Like, it's happening all the time. All the time.
It is the collective cost of our consumerism. But yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. Like my dad told me, like we're not, my family's not poor, the middle class in Pakistan.
Yeah.
But there's brownouts constantly.
Oh, yeah.
The flooding, it flooded during Eid, so they couldn't do Qurban, they couldn't even celebrate. The food prices are going insane.
It was so bad in Pakistan. Like the fuel prices, they were just hiked up, and they were like, "Well, people were like, how do we live? It's so bad. It is so bad. It's terrible. It's like how are like my nieces and nephews like? What are they growing up?
What are they looking forward to?
They're like, they're disconnected. Like, what do you want us to do? I'm like, good question. Don't know. I wish you could leave and stay with me. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Although, like, any country you're in is going to get hit by the the climate impact.
Oh yeah, it's
sooner or later. So yeah, and if you're not if you're not super rich or powerful, you're gonna
already affected by it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's floods happening here, so
Yeah, I live.
It's right there. So
I live 300 meters away from flooding.
I know. I'm like, I've stopped complaining about weather.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a thing of the past when you could complain about the weather.
It is just going to be shit.
It is what it is. It is what it is now at this point. Yeah. Sorry, it's turning really depressing. The podcast.
Yeah.
You want to talk Imran Khan? I'm like, let's talk about climate.
I know. But
That's what's important.
But it is interesting, like that polarizing opinion.
I know it is. I know. And that's the thing. I'm polarized. I'm like, I hate Imran. It's like, that's the thing. He evokes this strong emotion.
I wasn't expecting it, but I'm interested
But that's
in it.
Pakistanis, right? We're very passionate about like
Yeah, and I'm like I'm
this or that.
Yeah, I'm on this side of the fence. And again, I've got a very limited understanding.
I think a lot of us have limited understanding. Very few people have like a very full rounded view, right? Which is why, like, if I actually like some journalist or some analyst that I've been following for years, and then I can maybe see what they have to say, if, like, it resonates with me.
Yeah.
But not like blindly following anyone either, because we all have our blind spots.
Oh yeah.
No one knows everything.
So from a journalistic perspective, not individual journalists aside, where do you get from the more traditional sources? Where do you get your news from? That's the most respected, and I'll start right.
So okay, go ahead.
So like I will read the Guardian,
Yeah.
but I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, of course you must.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's left of center, but it's
Yeah.
probably missing a little bit
it can
of
get
the
it.
reality of things.
Yeah, it can
So-
be a bit like dreamy and idealistic in some ways.
Yeah. So that's where I'll get most of my news from, because I know that any news in here is horrendously biased.
For sure.
And is completely
What
subject.
about Al Jazeera?
I'll read it from time to time, but I honestly just keep away from the news altogether.
One of the better outlets. Yeah, same. But like with Pakistan, there's a tribune.com.pk. There's a
Yeah.
So the journalist I like is Nadeem Farooq Baracha. He's just like the most jaded, cynical person ever. Great writer. I'm like, spirit animal. Love to be like him.
Aspirational.
Very much so. But I like him.
But what about like, are you a Guardian person? Are you a New York Post person? Like, if you had to look at the more
BBC.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's still kind of, I mean, the BBC is usually pretty
neutral.
Yeah, pretty straight on.
I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like BBC. They don't like it's not a tabloidish kind of a place at all. So
no, they still maintain
they
some.
don't stir things up a lot.
Yeah.
I think Conversation, the website conversation.com.
Oh, never heard of it.
Yeah, there's some. Again, it's a conversation. Like somebody's going to say something and then you just take it with a grain of salt, as you should with anything.
Yeah.
But I don't take political news from my family. I'm like, no, and they don't listen to me either. So it's all. They're like, yeah, that's your opinion. I'm like, yeah, we all have our layperson's opinion.
Yeah, I do. I do just ask my dad what's going on. Yeah. It's a good. It helps me burn the time.
It's fun. Like, yeah. I mean, that's how I learned to connect with my parents when I was growing up, because I couldn't as a child.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
So then I just connected with them on like philosophy or like politics or literature.
Oh, wow. I could never talk about literature or philosophy with my family.
But like literature that we'd all read.
Yeah, well, there's nothing that me and my dad have read together. Maybe the Quran.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so my dad's really into like poetry.
Oh, yeah. See, my dad's not.
And I know some of it.
Yeah.
Like the old Urdu shit that we were forced to study in school.
Right.
So, yeah. A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, I've mostly got more involved in Pakistani politics or learning more about it as a way to connect with my dad about, just a conversation piece. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I remember Imran. And then, I do see the messaging, and I do understand, like, you might say it is populist, but, I think people are so jaded globally in Pakistan about the state of politics that what Imran can sort of bring people together, and like there is a degree of nationalism to it, but it's idealistic, and it seems to get people excited about the prospect of their country getting better.
Yeah, but it's not. That's what I think. The only party in Pakistan that can solve anything maybe is the establishment.
Yeah.
They're the ones who run it. So.
But they don't really care.
I don't know. I think, like I said, some of them might. I don't think they're like evil sociopaths just sitting there. I don't think that's quite true either. Yeah, I don't think that's quite true. And I think the culture itself, like India and Pakistan, they share the same shit, right?
Yeah.
Cultural shit. It's a very deep, messed up culture in some ways.
Oh, it's crazy.
How can any political party come and like start fixing it? I think it's like a generational change. It's going to happen.
It needs to be a cultural change for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not going to happen right away, or it's slowly changing. I have a terrible joke about that, but I shouldn't. But like when I went to Pakistan, you can see things that are a little bit culturally like a bit more different.
Yeah.
So I think when I was growing up, you had to really cover yourself up more in Peshawar, and now you don't have to as much.
Yeah.
You're not so much of a weirdo if you don't. It's kind of like more chill, just like slow. I come from like a pretty conservative family, so my lens is also, I'm not from like I don't know what the elites do in their parties and their drug parties and shit. I've heard of them. I'm sure they must be fun, but talking about very like.
I can't imagine an elite Pakistani party being much fun, even if they are doing coke.
I've heard.
Yeah.
They're super fun. I'm like, can I get invited to one next? I won't know where to find them.
See, you would, and that's what's so funny is just the hypocrisy, right? Because when I think about Pakistani elites, I think
people party everywhere.
Yeah, I know, but there's
party everywhere. Party scenes everywhere.
Yeah, hedonism is so existent, but I just think of like boring, conservative, very Muslim people. You know what I mean? Not doing fucking weird shit. I mean, but again,
I think a lot of them try to be that version, but like
they've always got to let something loose inside them.
The thing. Beat up a wife or shit, or molest a child. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I'm just saying, shit happens in Pakistan.
Oh,
and in
plenty of
conservative
shit.
society, and even in non-conservative societies, anywhere it
Yeah.
happens. And then especially if there's more restrictions, it's got to come out.
Oh, yeah. It's, there's the principal law of, cause and effect. For resistance.
Yeah.
If you create this much resistance, people are going to go crazy.
I feel like Pakistani art has always been cool. So that's what I like. It's not like I think if you're not very familiar,
I'm not, to be honest.
No, not you, but at least you know where Pakistan is geographically. But like, there's people that are like, oh, so it's a desert. Like they're thinking Middle East.
Not
yeah,
at
no,
all.
I've met people.
How much? There is probably like very little desert in Pakistan.
Yeah, I know it's called the third desert. There's exactly one desert, but like there's a lot of. I mean, just like I didn't know much about Europe before I went there.
Yeah.
But like people don't know a lot about Pakistan. They think maybe it's the Middle East. They think like women are forced to cover up. You're not forced to.
No. Oh, some places you might be.
Okay, maybe some very conservative towns.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like a social suicide if you didn't.
Yeah.
But there's no morality police, right? Like in Iran and Saudi Arabia with a stick and like beating you on the head if you're not covered. So Pakistan's art has, I think to me, that's been the best part about Pakistan. How cool the art and literature is. It's very awesome.
I definitely need to get more into it and appreciate it.
And it's
more.
just, it hasn't gotten worse or anything. It's just really good.
Mm-hmm.
The TV dramas have maybe taken a bit of a dive. But
Yeah, I'm not sitting
I
here
really
going.
love Shah Rukh Khan, even though he does mainstream stuff, but I just love him.
Yeah, everyone loves Shah Rukh Khan.
I know, he's so lovable.
Yeah, he's so
He's
easy
very
to like.
lovable. He's actually a very lovable person.
Yeah. I wonder what his dark side is, though. I wonder what
know.
skeletons he's got.
I think he's quite open about it. He's like, he really wants to be loved and adored.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I really need that. So I think he's quite open about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to have something.
I think that craving for approval and attention, that's pretty dark.
I don't know if it's dark. It's just
what dark
honest.
Yeah. But
We're comedians. Do you think we don't want fucking attention and approval? I'm blatantly obvious about that.
we all do though, but that's a human need. Yeah. Okay, so what dark side do you think Shah Rukh Khan could have?
I don't know.
What would you want him to have?
I don't want him to have anything, right? But,
What
is
dark side?
he into some weird shit? Is he playing off some sort of class struggle where he can, when you think about if you think about Western dudes who can just pull any chick, and it's cool, and he's a player in Hollywood like Leonardo DiCaprio.
I don't think he's that though.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. I'm just wondering, is there an equivalent of that playboy sort of gets all the
but there have been
girls?
rumors that he might be bisexual. So
Right.
That could be the dark thing in
That would be
culture.
very dark in India.
Yeah, which is so stupid. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
They're creatives. I mean, a lot of creative people are very open-minded and,
and also there's a billion of you. You like to fuck. I mean, of course, there's going to be a few guys that want to fuck other guys in there too. Could probably be quite useful at this point because your population's out of fucking control.
yeah, they could. It's like Russell Peter. We could use a few homos.
Yeah,
I have that joke, it's just like, oh, have you never seen Russell Peter? Let's watch this clip of his. And he says that line, we could use a few homos down there.
Yeah.
And people are like, you wanted us to watch that? I'm like, oh my God, that joke sounds really weird right now in 2022.
I think it's still a funny joke. You can't be afraid of it.
I know, but you don't hear that.
No.
So you're like, oh, okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
he did that a long time ago. I've
Still-
forgotten.
I still think it'd be funny now. I just think people's attitudes towards it.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, I just heard, when I was doing, whatever gigs I did in Toronto and Montreal,
Yeah.
and one in Detroit and a few in, Berlin and Prague, people are talking about way more politically incorrect stuff.
Oh, yeah. The pendulum's swinging back. I've said this in the pod many times. It's coming back.
Because I left Melbourne and I was like, wow, it's still very
Melbourne is the leftiest place
on earth.
in the southern hemisphere, I'd say.
On earth.
You think? Nah.
It really beat out you think you would have thought it would
Portland, San Fran,
be more, oh, okay.
right?
I haven't been there, but Toronto I thought would be, but it was people were making all types of jokes and you don't have to laugh at everything. You were like, okay, there's people saying whatever.
Yeah.
But not wow.
Yeah.
Not too crossing the line, but I'm just saying there was just more of a variety of jokes.
Yeah,
but in Melbourne, I feel like it's not as much.
No, because they're so fucking scared to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's also because the audiences are we're not going to laugh at that. And then as a comedian, you're like, well, I need laughs, so I'm just going to stop saying that joke.
Anything in Metro Melbourne, you're not going to get a laugh.
Yeah.
You leave 25 minutes any side out of Melbourne,
Okay.
those jokes will work.
Yeah.
Melbourne is a lefty bubble. And if your heavy jokes work in Melbourne, they will kill everywhere else.
Okay. Yeah, well, I started my comedy in Alice Springs, and it's a different market.
Yeah, it's a very different.
You can go dark there.
Yeah,
But,
they don't have much of a choice. Most of the population is.
I know. I was like, yeah, I fit in.
Yeah, they're like, what are you doing wearing
They're
shoes?
like, that was deadly.
Yeah, no, it's definitely swinging back. I don't think it's a good thing. It was.
Yeah.
I think it is.
No, yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I was just like kind of sad about coming back to Melbourne. I was like, oh.
No, people are pushing back. I think it's getting a little bit heavier.
Yeah, I just feel, I don't know if it needs to be anything. I just feel like you should just have jokes.
Yeah, but that's not how it's received. It's not how it's received at all. But I think it's more of the power brokers that were in Melbourne really tightening the screws on that because they wanted to be perceived as accepted by what's popular in the environment.
Who are the power brokers?
Like the people that used to run rooms a couple of years ago and things
Okay.
like that. And,
Okay.
and they're mostly predominantly white. And so they've got white guilt and they've got straight guilt.
We've got colored people running all kinds of rooms now.
No, we do.
And it's not even that. It's just like, I think I think things are changing. So, yeah.
They are changing. But there's definitely there was definitely a pandering to the white guilt market here for a while.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've definitely received some comments from people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
Fucking, and just annoys
Like
me.
you who has never left north side of Melbourne.
Yeah.
telling me, Peshawar, Pakistan, what I need to be saying and not saying. Okay.
Yeah, what the fuck do you know?
Like you don't understand my trauma. I'm like, just because I don't use my trauma as a card
Yeah,
doesn't mean I don't have any.
I know.
We all have trauma, right? Like,
Oh,
for fuck's sake, man. Who the fuck doesn't have trauma?
that's what half this podcast is. Look at the fucking book I got
Jesus.
there. The Myth of Normal. It's about trauma. But
yeah, I know he's all about trauma and Gabor Mate. So
yeah, I mean that's what's one of the most annoying things to me is
there's virtue signaling and there's shaming. The shaming is I personally, because I grew up with so much shame, that was my most dominant feeling growing up. And then when I have gotten shamed for like saying something,
yeah.
immediately takes me back to my trauma. But I'm like, should I play that card?
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I don't want to go there.
Nah, I mean
Because you know what? It's a never-ending cycle of shit. My trauma, your trauma, your trauma, my
that's the
trauma.
problem with the left. It's a fucking
Trauma.
it's a game of feel
Trauma.
sorry for me.
Basically, I'm like, you
I'm
just
not
have to be
responsible
like-
for my fucking shortcomings because of what's happened to me. That happens to a degree, but you still have to take some fucking responsibility for it.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, am I just like, I'm not sensitive enough, or like I'm like out of touch with like people's trauma.
No, I just think you're cynical. I just think you're too fucking cynical.
I'm not too fucking cynical. I believe in love and I believe in compassion,
Yeah.
but I'm also like not disconnected from reality. I'm not gonna be like, yay, Imran Khan's gonna change the country. I'm like, come on, that's not gonna happen.
Just grounding. Very grounding.
Yeah, just come on, man. Like, wake up. Things don't change like that. And for me to be worried about climate change, I don't think that's being cynical.
No. But I think
For me to like say Bollywood movies, most of them are shit. That's not cynical.
no, that's true. But I think
Yeah.
it's just the more of the so like for example, where do you find hope?
Should I say it really?
Yeah.
I think I find hope in like just everyday life and community and people, like the way people help each other.
Mm.
That happens to me on a daily basis. I meet amazing people almost daily.
Yeah.
Like anytime I've asked for help, like people have just shown up.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was traveling, when I'm domestic, whatever, right? Like people just come and help, and just the kindness of people. Everyday interactions that are not on social media,
Yeah.
that's where I find my hope.
Yeah.
Real life is where I find my hope. I also have hope in science.
Yeah.
I hope that science can get us out of this mess with climate. That would be great. I think science is powerful
Yeah.
if used correctly.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah, and I think there must be a lot of scientists who want things to get better. I think people, a lot of us, most of us, genuinely we want to do good. I think very few of us would be like, no, I want to fuck the world over or something.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us.
Oh, I think we all do.
Yeah.
I just think we are so indoctrinated into the systems of convenience that it's very hard for us to see a way out without us thinking about the implications of how that will impact our comfortable lives.
Yeah, for sure. That happens.
Because then we realize how dysfunctional and incapable we are in the real natural world because we've been so disconnected from it for such a long time.
Yeah, and to give up like your conveniences of like running water and electricity and be like, no, I'm going to work for it. Oh, I don't think I want to.
No.
Because it's really hard and yeah. Where do you find your hope other than Imran Khan? That external beacon of hope, where do you find your hope?
In a similar place to you. I find, for me, it's something I say a lot is, and it's not my idea, I think it's the Stoics or something like that, perception colors the lens of your existence. Whatever you believe, you are correct.
Yeah.
So if you believe that this world is out to get you, and
that will happen, that you'll have experiences that will verify that.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
So first and foremost, I live in my own hope that what I do immediately around me is positive.
Yeah.
And I know that I move with an intent in a net positive direction.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do.
You should watch The Good Place then.
Nah, fuck that.
Do it.
No, I don't
like
watch
it.
I don't even watch TV. I watch very little things. I'm just saying, right?
I consume a lot of TV.
Yeah, I don't.
Not TV, but like.
I don't consume that much media. Mostly just comedy podcasts.
Oh, okay.
And I just read a lot.
I read a lot too, but
yeah,
I also like to watch fun stuff. I'm watching The Red Dragon, but yes, please, for like the millionth time. I watched Dahmer when I was traveling.
Dahmer?
Yeah, the serial killer.
Yeah, I have zero interest in that shit.
I would watch one episode of Dahmer and followed by an episode of Friends, just to like totally the polar opposite.
Why would you just rot your brain with both of those things?
Because it's my brain to rot.
Sure, that's fair enough.
Okay, you were saying about hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hope, it's there. It's in the people that I think are trying to change things for the better. Yeah. People like Elon. I think, for example, I think particularly he got Twitter over the weekend, right?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
For everyone's misgivings and blind spots.
I don't know a lot of news, but I read that, yeah.
Yeah. For everyone's misgivings, like, I think people put a lot of faith in Elon because he is dragging us to a future that we want but haven't very clearly defined.
Okay. I don't have a lot of opinions on Elon Musk, but yeah.
About someone that is innovating for humanity's sake. That seems to be his perception. And I align with that. People that are, I have hope for people that can see beyond and who are rational and,
Yeah, the critical thinkers, right?
Yeah.
So important.
Absolutely.
You could be teaching that in schools.
Yes.
Critical thinking.
Yeah.
Very important skill to learn.
So definitely, for me, right now, there would be things like in the Rogan verse, right? Like you Joes, I wouldn't say I fully align to what Jordan Peterson is saying, but he's got some very salient points. I don't know about the Christianity stuff, but you can understand when you can see someone's working out, when someone's put effort into their decision.
There's so many people out there who are,
yeah. That it actually put some effort into what they're thinking about.
Yeah.
I respect that. Yeah. But as far as hope for the future, it's people like, it's the rationalists.
The scientists,
right?
Save us, please.
Yeah. They want to save us. It's not about this.
I wish I'd studied science, I was like, man, that's...
You still can. You still can.
I don't know if I have the disposition for it, to be quite honest.
Yeah, but you can still understand, and this is what I'm doing now, is understand the fundamentals of science and how they apply to our world, and it gives you a greater and deeper understanding of how the world works. What would you recommend? So actually, these books there at the bottom by Farnham Street. Okay. So they're called The Great Mental Models. Oh. And basically, Farnham Street's, I got this off Naval Ravikant. So this book by Farnham Street, it's a tome of like first principle thinkings. So these are the basics of the universe, mathematics, science. I like how physics. Your reading goes from like the very like spiritual to like yeah, it's all over the shop. I've got plenty more books. Right? It's in the right order, Jameel. I'm very impressed. Yeah. Once you figure that out, then you can like No, you need both. You need both. And
One
if
at a
anything,
time.
I've gone top down
Yes.
because my spiritual approach has led me to understand the deeper workings of the universe.
For sure. And they're not, I think science and spirituality is the same thing.
Yeah. There's an association that I follow called Science and Non-Duality,
Oh, yeah, cool.
which, science is really,
There's like a book on like the spiritual awakening process and what happens in the brain.
Yeah.
It's the same as neuroscience. Yeah.
oh, yeah.
It's
I
awesome.
read about all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, cool.
So, in my opinion, science is really just catching up to what we inherently knew thousands of years ago about spirituality, about the mind, about the nature of the planet, the universe. We are just converging into a singularity of knowledge. So
Yeah, it's exciting.
it's exciting, and that
Becoming
gives
one
you hope.
brain thanks to the internet, one mind.
Yes, but that mind needs to be kept clean. It needs to be It needs to be better accepting of its nature, like the light and the dark, and understanding why we do the
dark
things we do.
internet.
Yeah, the dark web is
It's
horrific.
there. Have you tried it? I tried to go on it once and I could just see like some forums for like selling drugs.
No, I haven't been on
was
I
like-
haven't been in the dark web.
I have. You have to download a special browser
Tor.
and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tor and like Tor, by the way, in Pashto means black.
Oh, there you go. The Thor web.
We created it. We should take credit for it.
I'm sure there's plenty of brown people that were responsible for engineering the dark web.
Yeah, well, they're
For
like
doing-
something must look like our skin tone. So.
Yeah, but no, I don't bother with that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I was just curious. I was like, "What's there?" And I got bored with it. Like within 5 minutes, I'm like, I don't want to have somebody murdered, or
Yeah,
I don't want to have drugs delivered. I'm okay, thank you.
yeah, it's not really worth.
But I'm sure there's more to it.
Well, it's just the underground, really, and you just all of the trappings that you would come to expect from the underground.
I guess so.
It's not going to be nice, right?
No, it's not going to be like what's accepted.
No,
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's also going to be very illegal.
highly illegal,
Very
highly
illegal. Yeah,
illegal,
totally
and
illegal.
highly immoral as well.
That too, yeah. I guess that's where I do believe in morality.
What? Because of the dark web?
No, I care about morality in general. So I'm like, I could never be a dark web user because I have
No.
this thing called morality.
Yeah, yeah.
Not everyone cares about morality.
No, that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
They may care about it on a societal level, but a personal level, they may not. They may have like loopholes for themselves.
Oh yeah, we've all got our own biases to our own benefit.
Like, oh, I'll just do that. It doesn't hurt anyone. I'm like, yeah, but it's not like that. Just because you're not telling someone something doesn't mean it's not harming the dynamic
Oh yeah, it's
and
But-
the ecosystem that's between you and those people.
yeah. I agree.
It's pollution of a different kind. Yeah.
Remember
You're
I was
like,
trying
I
to
don't know,
pull.
what are you talking about?
Yeah, remember I was trying to pull this into something more hopeful, and you just brought this into how you surf the dark web and people aren't moral.
Oh, but there's how many people actually use dark web? Very small proportion. Most of us are not using it.
Yeah, but I think if there was more savvy people, they would probably use it.
Oh, you think they would?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think they would.
Anyone can use it though.
No,
It's not that complicated.
you don't understand. I work in tech. You don't
Okay.
understand how dumb.
See, that's an interesting thing to think about. It's like, would more people commit crimes if they had more access to it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
What is?
so you're not a libertarian where you're like, we should just allow drugs and guns and let's let people make their own choices.
Not fully. No,
Okay.
no. People are stupid.
So you think Ron Paul's wrong when he's like, if heroin is allowed, not everyone's going to be shooting up?
I think that no, I agree with that to a degree. There is a moral degree, but if you allow more access without education, there is going to be it's going to be worse.
Yeah, and I think that's where gun laws help.
Yeah, I'm not
They just do.
Yeah.
It's like you just limit people's access, and yeah, they're not going to do it as much.
correct. It's an inconvenient thing to do.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the power of inconvenience.
I like that quote.
It's not a quote, but it's definitely an insight, right? I work.
Should definitely turn in t-shirt. Don't underestimate the power of inconvenience.
Yeah,
It's huge.
yeah. Convenience is one of the driving forces in the universe. Conservation of energy, of the equation of effort versus outcome, is one of the defining forces of the universe, and that's in the Farnham Street stuff, right? It's the law of thermodynamics. All all universal systems rely on efficiency.
Yes.
And that is ingrained even into our humanity in the way that we think about doing things, right? Why is, when you buy something online, why is Amazon so successful? One-click purchase.
Convenient, yeah.
Ooh, and that's what all of these.
Walmart.
All of these are one-click purchases from Amazon.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
you should
oh,
be
this.
ashamed of yourself. You should support the local bookstore.
Nah, they don't have them.
Yeah.
They don't have them, or else I would. But again, inconvenient. You think I want to go and hang out with all the other mouth breathers and fucking High Point?
Mouth breathers.
Mouth breathers.
Okay.
How do you feel when you are in a shopping center?
I'm like, wow, back to normal. Yay.
All right, no personal space. Everyone's eating out of troughs in the food court. All this waste, all this rubbish, all this commercialism.
Yeah, it's just a very populated world we're living in. It's the reality. What are you going to do?
Sort of divest from that where you can.
How?
Buy things online so you don't have to interact with them and not, be integrated into that ecosystem.
I just get anxious when I'm in a store. So for me, that convenience of online shopping, it's like, okay, I don't have to. I think the choice overwhelms me on shelves.
Right.
That's why I like Aldi. Only a few things.
Yes, you must get this fun and this fun only.
I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
So I have meltdowns in IKEA. I just can't handle
Yeah, too much choice.
too much. It's like it's vulgar.
That's how I feel about
To
shopping
the point when it's
centers.
vulgar, I'm like, why is there so much of everything? It's horrible.
That's how I feel about shopping centers.
But Amazon's terrible too.
They're all not great. But where am I going to get these books?
Should write one.
I need the knowledge.
What about the library?
Nah.
You want to own what you want to own.
I want to own the books. I want to read them in my own time.
I like libraries. I like handing books back because I travel and move around so much that I've just had to keep giving my books away.
Again, inconvenient.
Yeah.
Right?
It's inconvenient, yeah. The day books become convenient is the day I'll have all the books.
Kindle.
Yeah,
I like reading a handbook,
reading a
but
handbook,
Kindles have worked for millions and billions of people.
Yeah, no, Kindle's great.
See?
It's awesome.
Convenient.
Kindle's great, yeah.
That's what I mean. Never underestimate it.
Power of inconvenience.
Yeah.
Take fast. I'm just like thinking of all the things that are convenient, but let's talk about something else because that list will never end.
Yeah. No, I think, we've hit it. We've hit 90 minutes.
Wrap it up.
I think it's time to wrap
Edit
it up.
out my rant about Indian and Chinese government.
No, that's staying in. We are opening with that. This is how we get views.
Wow, what unique views I've shared. Wow, nobody else has ever said those things.
Good. That's what you want.
No, I'm like regurgitating what's been said before.
By who?
I wish I could give some brilliant insight that no one's ever thought of. The day that comes to me is when I'll make a clip out of it.
I think you've brought some pretty good insights now. I don't know why you're feeling so negative about it.
I'm not negative. I'm just saying. I think again back to maybe being cynical or whatever. I feel like it's time for action on climate change, and that's what we need to focus on.
I don't know. That seems like a pretty hot take to me there, Amna.
No, well, I'm just saying that's all. There's been so much research and talks on it. I think we just need to take action, and that's for me. I want to take action.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll end the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Action Amna.
Captain Planet. My favorite cartoon.
Yeah, it was a good cartoon. Where can the people find you if they want to? That sounds terrible. Usually it's about sharing your message, but I don't know if you want to share that
telling
anymore.
that to like somebody who's just spoken out against a few different regimes and I don't want anyone finding me.
Okay. A hijab would have been a very convenient thing to wear today. Burqa. That'd have been great.
Thanks, Jameel.
All right. Thank you, Amna, for your time. I will keep you redacted on the socials for your own safety. Binges, thank you very much for your time and attention, and I'll see you next week. Bye.